Well, hello everybody. I am Brian Cullen, and welcome to the stream before. Whoa! Hang on just one second. There we go. Everything was getting blown up and loud and all over the place. I didn't realize I still had the YouTube page open just to make sure everything was going to all the places it was supposed to go. So, as I was saying, um, this is the launch or the live stream leading up to the launch of my latest project, Vast Grimm Horde, No Safe Haven. It's going to be exciting. There's three new books to dive into the Vast Grimm universe, and I'm going to go through some of that here on the stream. Anybody that has any questions or comments or thoughts, feel free to jump in because I don't really have a whole lot planned out for the 2 hours. I was hoping there might be some community interaction and replying to questions and things like that to get to know what's happening with the campaign launching at noon Eastern time today. Um, that being said, it's being streamed on Backerkit, on YouTube, and on Facebook. So wherever you are, if you want to chime in, feel free to jump in and leave some comments because this is a pretty casual stream. I'll take bathroom breaks as needed. Maybe I'll do some drawing. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But as you can also see down in the comments, there, not down in the bottom ticker, it has the link if you are not on Backerkit. If you're on Facebook and want to go to vastgrimhorde.com, that will redirect you to the launch page. And yeah, all that good stuff. So I did ask a little bit in my Discord about some questions about what people might like to have me talk about while here on the stream. And there are a few things, so I'm gonna probably talk a little bit about some of those, and then I may even cycle back to them if the time goes by fast, or I'll just start talking very, very, very slow. No, no, I won't do that. I guess like before we really dive into other things, with the launch happening at noon, less than 2 hours, it's going to be a little nerve wracking and hectic for me because once you launch, you have to do all these things and notify all the places, send out all the emails, and keep making sure people are seeing it as much as they can. So, building up to it and trying to share some information about the campaign now as you're getting ready to go into it and see what's going on. Let me talk a little bit about the books that are going to be part of the campaign. One of them is a grim outlook on the outpost. And this is what I consider to be a starter adventure in what will be a long, ongoing campaign series. So a lot of people look at Merkborg and Vast Grimm and other games like this as like one shots and like just because it's lethal and because a lot of times you don't start with a ton of hit points, people think that it doesn't make for long form games. And I don't know, once you get attached to these gruesome, bizarre, weird characters that you've got, a lot of times you want to keep playing them and you want it to go on for longer and longer. So with that, I wanted to make something that would lend to, in the core book, there's the mention of the Gate of Infinite Stars that's being built, a way to maybe escape this universe. John, what's happening? It's good to have you here. Thank you for joining. I want to have a way that would focus around the Gate of Infinite Stars, a way to collect all the pieces and maybe try and get your legion out of the universe before it inevitably collapses. And so this adventure, a grim outlook on the outpost, which John actually ran part of this past weekend at Kubla Khan. Um, it's an introductory for both new and old GMs to really kind of help paint the setting of Vast Grimm for the players. It gets you in, gets you to experience the gruesome, dark aspects and some of the goofy aspects as well of Vast Grimm, and then it takes you on a quest to try and find the very first piece to the Gate of Infinite Stars. And in theory, this will then connect to other adventures so that the Legion can go around and hopefully get all the pieces and maybe get out. Or perhaps the Legion has ulterior motives. Maybe they want to get the pieces and sell them on the black market and make all the money and just live it up as much as they can before the Grim take over what is left of humanity and the universe really does collapse. So there's a lot of different ways that a legion could go about it. Um, and the very beginning is a little sandboxy to try and not sandboxy railroady to try and get people into uh, painting the setting, and then it opens up, especially as everyone's exploring these different asteroids in this colony. Really turns into more of a sandbox. So that's really the first book, and these books. The page count is like it's a 48-page book, but then they also have the end sheet, so it ends up being like 56 pages when I'm laying it out. And that book is almost completely done. It's missing 2-page spreads. Um, the gate is a myth that parents tell children to help give them hope. That is good. I like that. Ooh, what if there was a children's book like in the old style golden children's books that's about the gate? I like that, in a very cute cartoony style, a very cute cartoony worm too. Um, so the oh, so the only thing left to do on this book is 2 inside spreads and then the end sheets, assuming we hit that stretch goal, and then it needs to be edited, and that one will be done. So it's very far along. I've made some adjustments based on some feedback from players, and after playtesting it a bit on my side, and then John running it, I'm going to get his feedback from the games he ran this past weekend at KublaCon, um, and then those will be ready to go. The next book is No Safe Haven, which explores 2 of the 13 spires that are on Marauder's Cryosphere. If you're familiar with any of the lore from the core book of Vast Grimm, Marauder's Cryosphere is like the hum of scum and villainy, right? The hive of scum and villainy. So like people go to this ice planet, they dock their ships to these spires and kind of build like these circles around it with these connecting tubes, almost like the spokes on a bicycle wheel. And 2 of these spires are explored, not to their fullest, because I want to make sure to leave enough room for people to make it their own. Like whenever I was a kid and running games and through high school and college and things like that, I always wanted to add and do my own homebrew of things. So this kind of helps plant some of the seeds of some of the factions and some of the crime bosses that are in these 2 spires. In one of the spires, there's Gozer Corp, and this explores there's a new alien species that's introduced, the Erdverken, and there's a class associated with some of them as well. There's a couple of different alien species that are introduced in this book, and how they interact and how they kind of control how this one corp controls this one spire. There's also an intergalactic wrestling federation that has their matches in the lower levels of one of the spires. This is where this spire was originally a prison colony, and so in the building that was part of that is where a lot of people that's where they live now, in the cells, and they go to the upper levels to the markets, and that's where they work during the day, and then come down here, and then part of the area is actually what is used for entertainment for the wrestling. So there's a wrestling class that's been added. Really, I like going and exploring all sorts of different things while I'm creating stuff. And so if my brain wanders this way, I just kind of find a way to loop it all in. So just continuing to bring everything together. And that book is completely done. It's completely edited, and that thing is ready to go to print. So we've got 2 books that are like almost ready to just send off to the printer to get proofs made and be on their way. The 3rd book is a little bit further out, but I'm writing it and laying it out at the same time, which is kind of how my process works. And this is the Helltrap Barges. This is an ever-shifting dungeon crawl set on the waste barges of Kalar. If you're familiar with the lore, there's King Saul, who reigns over the waste barges, and he is just kind of a terrible, terrible person. And so, as he's been getting rich off of other people's trash, he's been building his empire, and he's got his whole group around him, his king's court, and there's a block in there, tables to roll up the different characters that are currently members of his court, because they come and go depending on King Saul's whim and fancy, depending on how someone looks at him one day. He may be like, you know what, you're gone. I'm bringing somebody else in. But one thing that's consistent with King Saul and his court is they love throwing people down into this labyrinthine dungeon area of the waste barges and seeing if they can get out. Maybe they owe a debt to Saul, and instead of collecting on that debt because they don't have any creds, he throws them down there for their entertainment. And with video cameras and things all connected and audio and stuff like that, all connected through this dungeon, it is entertainment for the King's Court and other members of the Kalar society. Now, because of all this, there's also unrest down in the lower areas of the waste barges. There's a faction, the Wasted, who are planning to start a revolt against King Saul and his court and the ruling class. So there's different factions in this book. The ever shifting dungeon aspect has a way to use a D10 and a D6 to roll what room would be next, so that the dungeon can actually be moved and changed as you play. It also creates for lots of replayability. And then I'm going to have sections in it with, if you want to use this story arc, make sure to only use these dungeon or these rooms. If you want to use this story arc, only use these rooms. Or if you want to do the whole thing, use all of the rooms. I also have a card deck that this was based off of. A few years back, I did a series called Cardography that I co-published with Norse Foundry, and I used one of the decks for that to help me generate the overall mega dungeon of this. You don't need that deck to actually do it, but that's another way to randomly generate the rooms. You can shuffle the deck, pull out one of the cards, and be like, okay, you are now in room 36. I did a very similar thing with a Merkborg adventure called Crawling Death Below the Dying Forest. And people that have played that seem to enjoy it quite a bit and enjoy how it works. There is a third faction within the waste barges. There's these creatures that have kind of grown and morphed inside the sewage of the waste barges. And there's people that were part of the wasted colony that have then gone and now they worship the Sulgots, these tentacled monster creatures. And so that's a third faction that gets thrown into the mix to add even more to the overall storyline of the waste barges of Kalar. So there's those 3 books that are going to be new in this campaign, and that's a wide variety. I'm hoping that by the end of this Backerkit crowdfunding campaign, I will have the Waste Barges book completely done, or at least to the point where it can go off to editing. So shortly around the time of the money coming in from the crowdfunding, it can be pretty close to going to print. I want to try and make sure that this goes off as fast and as soon as it can. Because the faster it gets back and gets to you all, the sooner I can have it for conventions and be able to make and put out new things, right? Because you'd rather have the things that I've made in your hands before I try and continue launching more and more projects, if I can. So if there's anybody in the chat that has questions about any of those 3 books or anything else for that matter, drop it into the comments real quick. And then we'll keep going on, because you know what? We still have an hour and 40 minutes till the launch. And so I'm going to have a lot of time to go over things and cover stuff. I was thinking that maybe if I get through all the talky talk stuff, maybe I'll do some paint overs of some stock photography stuff that I downloaded and kind of walk through some of the process for creating some of the art for Vast Grimm, the Vast Grimm books that I'm making. And then we'll also talk about some of the other things that were mentioned in Discord about some topics to bring up and chat about. And also make sure, if you're just now checking it out and seeing things, go to vastgrimhorde.com to take you to Backerkit. Make sure to hit that follow button, because you know what? I want to see how many people we can get to, see if we can jump it up at all before this project launches. Let's see what it's at right now. See if anything's changed since this morning. Boom. I'm just going to the back end of Backerkit. I'm going to click on this. and we are at 1,118 followers on this project, which a while ago I was not sure if we were going to even get to 1,000. So that's fantastic. I'm thrilled that we broke that ceiling of the 1,000 mark, and hopefully we will keep it going in the last 2 hours. It feels like I'm on one of those weird pledgeathons on PBS, and colors are standing by. So anyway, one of the things that was mentioned in the Discord was to kind of talk about sculpting and some of the things that I make. So I'm gonna walk around and grab some randomness. Like behind me, up above my head, is a space station that I built for that. I think I originally built that one for an adventure that the uh, shoot, why did my brain just fart? That Theo and Grady made for one of the Volatile Verse issues. And then this is Travel Station TS0116R. And this is actually on the cover of the Grimm Outlook, and there's a map of this. So what I did for this thing was I built a base out of like foam core, right? And like the round piece is actually like a hat box, or like a cheap hat-ish box that was bought at a craft store. And then I just glued in all sorts of things that were bits and pieces from model kits, tops to drinks. Like this piece here was part of a food processor that had broke, that like mashed the food down into the processor. These are like from gumball machines that my daughter got at a bunch of places. We've got the bottom half. This was the ball that was part of one of the Star Wars drinks from Disney, and this was the top for that. Then the lids over here to these gumball machine things. Just find all sorts of pieces. There's a piece that broke off, and you can see the paint showing through. I just need to go in and re-glue that. And then I even use things like all the sprues that are part of the model kits, because they make great piping when you're doing this sort of thing. So that's used in a Grimm Outlook. And then when I did that, after it was done, yes, Kit Bash does mean upcycling, and it works. Thanks, Charles. So I then did a photograph of that, a bird's eye photograph of it, so then I could do the map to create that in. I used Dungeon Fog. Is that correct? I used Dungeon Fog to draw the actual map that'll be in the book, and then I did illustrations, vector illustrations of it on top of that. Thanks, John. I'm glad you love the models. They're really fun to do, although I can't seem to find a way to not get glue all over my hands. That's just, I'm a very messy artist when it comes to things, and I'm not super careful. This one, let's bring this guy in, is another recent sculpt. This one isn't in the upcoming books, but this was something I made to put into a species in the Patreon content that releases. And maybe something with these guys may get into the books or into a stretch goal, like a digital stretch goal, depending on how well the project does. But I really like making weird, strange things. If you look at this is a ping pong ball. These are some like little glass baubles. These are Dole fruit cups for my daughter. And this was just like a cheap styrofoam head, like this, that I just went and sculpted on top. So I'm thinking, oops, something made it bouncy. I'm thinking that if I can get my laptop hooked up outside, I may do another stream sometime while the project's going, where I continue to sculpt on a creature that I was working on yesterday. Thing is, I can't sculpt on this stuff inside the house because it's an epoxy, and when the two elements combine, they release some sort of weird chemicals, and it destroys my sinuses. Like, it totally I had to have big sinus surgery a couple years ago because I was sculpting in my studio or my office, and then I'd turn around and I'd work all day, and I was breathing it all in, and it was just dumb. Ooh. So I'm started on this thing, which is going to be a plant-like alien species that's a mutation from these plants that we're growing. And the concept is that there's these plants growing on this jungle-like planet. Oh, good. I'm glad you love live sculpt content, Charles. I'm going to try and do that maybe tomorrow afternoon. I've got to pick up my dog. She's getting spayed today, and I've got to pick her up this afternoon. I'm not sure how the afternoon will go, especially with the launch of the Backerkit campaign in an hour and a half. It's going to be a hectic day. But if I can get things set up so I can stream that while on here, that would be awesome. It's also super hot in Georgia outside in the summertime. I was sculpting on that yesterday, and I was just kind of melting a little bit. But rewind it back to what this thing is. So there's this jungle planet, and there was this corporation that was sending people out to these different planets looking for things. And they realized that these are carnivorous plants, and they cannot get infected by the Grimm. So they decided to bring those back and ship them around the verse to try and help them with the Grimm problem. And of course, this is an invasive plant species, so it starts growing all over the place. It can thrive in most environments. But what I'm working on with that is some scientists decided to try and see if there could be a human hybrid of the plant. And so once I finish sculpting that out, it will have some facial characteristics, probably not very human-like, but it'll have a little bit, and then it'll also have the plant-like characteristics. So that will be that. And if things go well, that may be something that's worked into one of the stretch goals. Otherwise, I'm just, I like making stuff, and that's where my mind went. That actually started from a drawing. I was trying to sketch up. No, that's the wrong sketchbook. I was trying to sketch up some ideas of what to do for creatures or things for Patreon, and this is what I ended up doing, which is what that is based on. So did that, then I colored that in, and that's actually, I've already statted that up as a creature. But then I wanted to go ahead and okay, what happens when I turn that into a more humanoid type creature to make things going. So let's see, what other sculpts do I have around that are easy to get that would be fun? Let's see, here's some good ones. So also, I've used a lot of snap ships in some of the starships, right? In a lot of the starships. And then I add on top of those with kit bashing and stuff like that. Sometimes this one's hard to get across in the photographs because I'm not the best photographer. But I love to build this stuff, and then I love painting on top, and then you can see bits and pieces of kit bash stuff on top of it using the pieces from the model kits. Some of them I do more than others. And then, of course, on the Grimm Outlook, we've got the Grimm head that's part of it. And one of the things I kind of want to do is I never finished the back of this head. I was thinking about cutting this out and having a worm coming out and coming around so you could see both the Grimm and the worm at the same time. We'll see how that one goes. Then there's some other starships up on the wall that are more straight up made out of foam and kit bashed. So there's a wide variety of stuff there. So now let's see, conventions coming up. This year is going to be pretty busy. The next convention, I don't know yet if I'm going to be at Southern Fried Gaming Expo. I need to reach back out to them and see what's going on because we had talked at the end of last year, and then time has just run away from me. But Gen Con is coming up, and believe it or not, there were 36 Vast Grimm games listed. I organized 38. There were 38, and I organized 26 of them. They're currently, let me take a look while we're here. Vast Grimm. Out of those, it says 11 still have tickets remaining, but it's weird because the I think one of them does not because it's been acting weird. So most of them are almost sold out. So if you're going to Gen Con and you want to play, jump on it. I'm not going to be running any of the games, but I know Ross, the co-creator of Vast Grimm, is running games Friday and Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock. So you'll be able to get in on one of his games. I'm primarily going to be holding down the creature curation booth from open to close of the convention hall. And then John, who's been in the chat, he's going to be running 4 Vast Grimm games and 4 Molt games at Gamehole Con in Madison, Wisconsin in October, which I will be at as well, but I will not be, I don't think I'll be running any games because I'll be hustling the booth most of the time. And then say earlier in October, I'll be driving up to just outside of Pittsburgh to the Gnome. Come on, Brian. The name. It's not the old Gnome. It's I will get. Oh, hey, here's how we can figure that out. To Sobel's Obscure Brewery, where they're going to be re-releasing the Worm's Blood beer, and I think maybe another one. And then we'll be running Vast Grimm games at the brewery for that weekend, and it should be good times. Then PAX Unplugged, still working on figuring out the games for that show, but I'll be there working it, and that should be good times. I think that's it for this year. Oh, I believe Dragon Con this year, I'm going to go and help my friend Alan out and hustle in his booth because he needs a booth babe, which I do well, and he's going to be busy in the art show, so I need to work his Ancient Ones booth. He's come and helped me out at a number of shows, so it'd be good to return the favor. I think that's it for conventions. Any questions about conventions or the sculpting or the books that I've talked about, or anybody jumping in and want to hear about any of the things so far? It's crazy doing the 2 hours leading up to the show. I'm hoping this will bring some new folks in and get people excited, and then you'll get to see me starting to panic right at launch time. Hopefully that will not be too overly stressful or anything like that. Because usually it's like behind the scenes and everything's off and I'm like scrambling to do click, 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 click. I've got my checklist of all the places I need to post to, all the emails I need to send, all the good stuff. And so, let's see. Okay. So we are still at the 1,118 followers on the project. If you are watching and thinking about following, now would be a great time to follow, because if you follow the project leading up to the launch and you back it for a physical tier, you will get a shiny Astro Zombie patch. But if you don't follow it and back it, then you don't get the shiny Astro Zombie patch. And then it will be gone. And that Astro Zombie will be gone forever. Well, except for a few extras that I'll probably have, just in case something happens with shipping and some packages get lost in the mail, as that happens from time to time, and need to send out a couple of extras if just to have them on hand. So that being said, patches, that's a good segue, John. Yes, patches. We love the patches. Now, I did not get all of the patches prototypes made prior to the campaign, because you have to pay for the digitization of the design, then you have to pay for the samples, and I wanted to make sure the campaign funded great, and I really own, and I know how they're going to turn out. I know this patch manufacturer. They've made a bunch of patches for me before the Vast Grimm campaigns. They've made a bunch of patches that I have just from my RPG pins and patch line. So I really only wanted to get the patches samples of the patches that had the dye sublimation printing. And what dye sublimation is usually it prints to like a kind of like a waxy type of paper, and then it uses a heat transfer system for then the inks, the dye to absorb into the synthetic fabric. Um, so with that being said, that one that I just showed a few minutes ago, that uh, can never do this right. That Astro Zombie is dye sub printed, but then it's embroidery on top of it. So it has a really rich aesthetic. It looks fantastic in person. And then, as you may have seen in some of the earlier stuff, there's the Salvation 3, which is a triple hex patch. It's got the dye sub printing, and then it's got the embroidery as well. And the thing about the Salvation 3, this is the starship. This is a Precious Hauler starship, and this is what part of the a Grimm outlook on the Outpost adventure. This is like Act 2 in it. Is the Legionnaires will be aboard the Salvation 2. That's a healthy follower count. Awesome. It would be cool to know how many are new to Vast Grimm. It would be cool. Hopefully, I'll be able to do a poll of that. I've got a couple of polls lined up. And speaking of, before we jump back to the other patches, that's something I'd love to talk about. One of the things that Backerkit really rewards is the community engagement. So if you're watching this and you're going to be a part of the campaign, if you could vote on every poll that I put out, if you could comment on everything, I would really appreciate it, because it's going to help me in the algorithm and help me stay closer to the front of all the other projects on Backerkit. And there's a lot of projects that are launching right around now that have bigger follower counts than my project, that are put out by bigger RPG companies. And I want to try and make sure I stay in front of people, especially since Backerkit doesn't have quite as big of an organic, well, it doesn't have as big of an organic reach as some of the other folks out there. So being on the front page would really help out. Oh, John, thanks. So you love multi-hex patches? Well, I don't think this is going to be a stretch goal, which you're getting a sneak peek of this. Anybody that's bothering to watch, this is a Ramethus worm double hex patch. Woo! And so that's one of the stretch goals coming up. So there are some additional stretch goals in there, but like I was saying, I'm going to have multiple polls and discussion points and things like that throughout this campaign. So if you can jump in on those and be a part of the community and help me make this thing as awesome as possible, I would really, really appreciate it. I'm going to be way more active here and also on my Discord than I am in most other social places, just because I generally feel like I communicate better when it's quicker interactions as opposed to walk away for 4 or 5 hours and it feels less conversational. So along with those patches, what other patches do we have coming out? So let me just go to the page so that I can take a look at it and explain some of the other patches that are going to be part of the campaign. Oh no, just opening it up, it gets me in my camera. Okay. So we have the exclusive 48-hour patch, the symbol of they. If you back in the first 48 hours, you'll get that. And then the other patches, I've got a 2024 Legionnaire header patch. Maybe hold a newcomer-centered event with help from experienced Legionnaires to chat about the game and the fun we have playing it. Might be cool during the campaign. Oh, that's a great idea, Charles. Thank you. Let me write that down because, today's a busy, hectic day and I will forget. Actually, better yet, let me just screenshot that because that will be even easier to capture. So we've got the exclusive Astro Zombie patch. We've got the Intergalactic Wrestling Federation hex patch. We've got a Gozer Corp hex patch. I mentioned that earlier in the discussion. Gozer Corp is one of the crime syndicates that is part of Marauder's Cryosphere and controls one of the spires. We've got a Gate of Infinite Stars hex patch, which is like the center patch. It shows all the pieces of the Gate of Infinite Stars all together. We've got a Blaster hex patch that says pew pew. And we've got the 6 hex patch. For those who may not be familiar with Vast Grimm, the 6 are the religious zealots who traveled to the mausoleum of they 663 years ago and unlocked the doors and released the worms into the verse and became infected. Were the first ones that were infected with these cosmic worms, and what then turned them into the Grimm. So the six are key integral players or characters in the history and lore of the setting. Some other interesting things with so those are the patches that are in it. There is a cross collab with this project. Backerkit has introduced that. They did it early on with, and this is some of the early beta stuff, where if you back this project and you back one of my friends' projects, you get something for backing both of those. I don't think I think it can probably be just like $1 back, but I don't know. But my friends over at Ninth Level Games, they put out a game called Mazes, and they have a project launching on June 4th. And so if you back City of Skull for Mazes and you back my project, you're going to get something special. I guess I shouldn't announce that yet until we've agreed on what it's going to be. But I know what it's going to be, and I think you'll dig it. It's got a throwback to some of my retro childhood toy cartoon stuff, but it also is appropriate for the Vast Grimm Horde and what we're making. So I think you'll dig it. And then there's also going to be a bunch of other projects, like I know launching in 18 minutes on Backerkit is Hollows by Rowan Rook and Deckard. And if you're familiar, John, I can't say that yet, but yes, you'll be getting more patches. Not necessarily as the cross collab, maybe, I don't know, but you'll definitely there's definitely some stretch goal patches. There's one for backer count, like and that's already, once the page opens up, if we hit 500 backers, we're going to get the first piece of a Gate of Infinite Stars patch that will build a gate as you collect all the pieces. Oh, you saw Chris at Ninth Level or at KublaCon? Awesome. I saw that he and Heather were both were there, and I saw the guest badges, so that's awesome. They do a lot of really great stuff for the industry. And I think they're the ones that are organizing the mentorship program right now for up and coming RPG developers and stuff. So I applied for that. I was a part of it 2 years ago. We'll see if I'm paired up with anybody and get to help share some of the knowledge that I have with any aspiring designers or developers or all that stuff. But yeah, they're good people. And they'll be. I wonder if they'll be at Gamehole Con. I don't remember them there last year, but I could be wrong. Where did we? We hung out and had a lunch at Gamma, and then I'm sure we'll see them. I'll see them at PAX Unplugged since they're out of Philly. So yeah. And then I was mentioning the Hollows launches in like 15 minutes from Rowan Rook and Deckard. If you're familiar with Heart or Spire or Eat the Reich or any number or Die RPG, I'm forgetting many, I'm sure, but all of their everything that they put out is gorgeous. They have a really strong aesthetic to all their projects, and the writing's really fantastic. So I'm excited that to see how they do and know that they're going to be drawing people into Backerkit an hour leading up to when the Vast Grimm Horde No Safe Haven launches. 1 hour and 16 minutes to go. And my voice is going to be blown out by the time this thing's over. Let's go over here. Let's see if we increased the count. Okay, we're still at 1,118 people on the follow count. Trying to think if there's anything of note to add about the campaign itself. I do have a lot of good stretch goals lined up. I have a number of guest adventures, which is pretty rad. I've got some people I'm really excited to have be a part of it. Some friends that I've made over the past year and a half. Some people that are new to me, friends that will, I'm sure our relationship will grow as the community grows and as I get to see them at other shows. So I'm very excited about that as well. and I've got some friends that haven't done a. I've got one friend that hasn't done a ton of RPG writing that is excited about doing it. That we're going to work together to try and come up with one of the things. So yeah, it's going to be. Those are some really good stretch goals. Are there any requests from you in the audience of stretch goals that we could have? Oh, and here's one that's going to be a fun one. I'm going to help with the community engagement. Hey, Nick, what's happening? Awesome. I hope you're brewing something tasty. For anybody that's watching, the cans that I showed earlier and talking about Sobel's Obscure Brewing, he brewed the Worm's Blood, and also the event that I talked about at the beginning of October, the Worm Fest that will be happening there. We are 1 hour and 14 minutes away from blast off. I was saying a second ago, one of the community engagement things that I'm going to do is I'm going to put out a discussion panel for things that you'd find like the No Use for the Dead table. And anybody that puts in a suggestion that gets put into the table in one of the books will then get their name listed as the credit for that in the book. I think I'm going to do that. I think that'd be a fun way to get some of people's ideas into NPCs and stuff like that in the book. Oh, had a little bit of coffee go right up my nose. But anything that you all would like to see in stretch goals? And let me see. Let me find my checklist. Check. Okay. I've got all sorts of stuff on my checklist for today. Potion Master. You want the Potion Master to be in the stretch goal, or you are the Potion Master? Because I know you are the Potion Master for that adventure we'll be working on for the event at the brewery. Let's see. I'm moving all sorts of things around to all these different windows, trying to keep it all straight. Where is my checklist? There we go. No safe haven Backerkit. Facebook group announcements. That's a long action plan. There we go. Sounds fun. Contributions from your audience in the final product is a great way to boost engagement. Yeah, and just like the idea, like I know if I'm reading one of my friend, like somebody's book, and I'm like, oh, that was my idea. That was me. I love that. Like my son loves seeing his name in playtesting credits and some of the board games we've got to playtest for some of the other companies. So I thought that would be a good one to get people jazzed about throwing some ideas into the ring. And if we have too many ideas, I can always figure out a way to work them into one of the other books, maybe. But so I was thinking that would probably be in the Grimm Outlook on the Outpost book, because I thought it'd be that's one of the tables I was kind of leaving a page open for some of that, since I said I had 2-page spreads and the end sheets still to do on that one. So I think that'll be fun. So start coming up with some ideas now. Ooh, because I'll probably dump that in. I'll probably put that in tomorrow. Would be my guess as a community engagement thing, since it should be pretty busy. Hopefully today, and then tomorrow. I'm sure, like usually day one's like, and then it starts to go down, and then it dives right off. So maybe near the end of the 48-hour mark to try and get people excited about it. And we're getting closer to an hour away. It's crazy thinking. Usually I launch these things at like 9 a.m. Eastern time. It's so odd doing it at noon, but I also know like Backerkit's on the West Coast. So just trying to make sure all the timing is good. And especially with them running the marketing side of it and doing all the ads and everything, I just wanted to make sure everything was good. And also then I can at noon start like getting all the things going and then be like, oh, I'm so hungry. I need to eat something, turn off the camera and run away and eat some quick lunch and then jump back on. I figure if there are people in here, I'll probably continue streaming throughout the launch. Although I wonder if that takes away, I wonder if you can't watch the trailer video at noon. Um, huh. Interesting. Sorry, just thinking about this. So, like, because right now, if you go to the page, because I can get in and see the page from this side, where the trailer video is this video. So maybe I will end it right before noon, and then we'll go in, and then I'll do all the things, and then maybe I'll jump back in and stream again a little bit later, to be like, hey, this is where we're at, and like this is what we need to get to, and all that good stuff, and hopefully we will have things to be excited about. Plus, then also I can like really hunker down and not be like blah 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 blah. I need to post here, blah 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 blah. I need to post here, because that's kind of how I'm sure I will be, and I'll probably be going cross-eyed and acting all sorts of wonky as I'm hustling to get things done off of my checklist. Oh, so I was showing some sculptures earlier. I know this isn't Vast Grimm, but I did make she for a Morkborg book, which I thought was fun and big and weird. Since all of this derives from Morkborg, being able to pay homage to Pele and Johann and incorporate some of their things into the other books that I do is always important. And then being able to tie all the books together is fun for me as well. Being able to figure out ways to add little nuggets so that you could really go from one to another and across. So we are still rocking at the 1,118. I think that's probably where we're going to cap it off, is my guess, before actual launch. Is there any questions or thoughts from the audience? Anybody that's watching, anybody in the Facebook land, in the YouTube land, in the Backerkit land, on any thoughts or questions about the campaign? Anything you'd like to see or hear about? And actually, let me go and run and fill up my coffee. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute myself. So what did I miss? Okay. I know one thing that I totally forgot that I could do while we're here streaming is to I can work on some layout and kind of walk through how I do some of the art, especially when it comes to stock photography and how I do some of that stuff. So I downloaded a couple of stock photos from Adobe today. And what I did when searching for the photos, I went in and I made sure that I had AI generative images deselected, and I just searched for photos. And let's see, let me go ahead and I'll open a couple up, then I'll share the screen, and then I'll walk through this process that I use in Affinity Photo. That way we can just keep talking. I can get a little work done, and yeah, we can go from there. And you can have questions about how I do this if you want. And also, if anybody's interested in making their own stuff, this will kind of hopefully help a little bit along the way. Let's see. Okay, got that popped up. Let me see. I want to make sure. Let's see if I can share. Let's see. Present. Slide. Share screen. Let's see. Window. Entire screen. No. Okay. Window. Haha. Okay. Here we go. Share. All right. Here we go. We've got Affinity Photo opened up. And so I think I searched for sci-fi apocalypse, I believe. I grabbed 2 photos, and let's see. I'm going to put it up to a vote. For the folks that are in the chat right now, would you rather see bio dreadlocks, or would you rather see space suit shooter? I'll probably end up having time to do both of them, but in the meantime, let's have you pick. Okay, first answer wins. Shooter, pew pew pew. Okay, shooter it is. First answer won. So first thing I'm going to do with this, because I don't need all the extra information, I'm just going to go in and delete around them. I'm just deleting the pixel data because I'm never going to use that. And I know I'm never going to use that, so that's okay. Otherwise, I would use a mask so the pixel data is still there, but I don't really care because, I know that I'm going to put them on a completely separate background. So that being said, I'm going to go up here. There's a tool at the top called Quick Mask. Boom, makes everything red like it's masked out. I don't want everything red. So I'm going to take the paint bucket tool. I'm going to dump that thing white. Then I'm going to go back to the brush tool over here on the left. I see that it's black. I'm going to make sure that my black build, which, okay, none of these are, the palettes are not in the window. Let's see. You can't see any of that. So is there a way to get my tools? Window. How do I get I want my tools to be in so you can see them. Well, that's going to be an important part of you being able to see what I'm doing. Window. Move to iPad, Resource Manager. I've never put the tools inside of here, so I've not had to, let's see, customize toolbar. Dock tools. No? Dock tools? No? Okay, that undocked those. So window, or that was view, dock, show tools. Okay, maybe if I drag this over here. No, that's not going to work. Okay, so I don't want to show my whole screen because I've got a lot of other stuff going on in the background that I probably do not need to share. So let's see. Okay, so I'll just explain what I'm doing. I'm just going to bump up the black all the way to 100 on the black value. And then I'm going to go into my brushes. I've got brushes, window, brushes. Where are my brushes at? Oh, they're over on the left-hand side. There we go. I'm going to go to brushes and I'm going to go to masking. And then I'm just going to take a solid brush, right? I'm just going to do the solid brush. And oops, as you see, when I drop it down, it puts a red dot. If I switch it to white by hitting X on my keyboard, at least on a Mac, it drops it to the other one. Now I'm going to zoom in on this dude. I'm going to drop down the brush size. There's keyboard commands for all of this as you get to know the program. It's easy to use. I'm going to click here. I'm going to hold shift down so it does a straight line. I'm going to press spacebar to move around the canvas as we do this. And I'm just going to start building. I prefer to work on the positive space within the photograph. I don't like doing the negative space on the outside. I was trained years and years ago, probably early 2000, to work on the positive space when silhouetting people. I cut my teeth silhouetting wrestlers for World Championship Wrestling. Back when they used to have black and white photographs of themselves that they'd have at shows where they'd charge money so they'd sign them. World Championship Wrestling at the time was owned by Turner, and Turner was in Atlanta. And that was one of the company, the studio that I worked for, one of their big clients at the time. So I had to silhouette a lot of crazy hair, especially, a lot of that wrestler hair was teased up with hairspray and all that stuff at the time. So I learned how to silhouette people and pay attention to the details and all that stuff because, it was a big deal for their photos to look good so that they could sell them to the fans to have them put into their little collections of photos. So I'm just going to zoom in and keep going along. Now, I must say, it's 11 o'clock Eastern. I'm going to take a quick break on this just so that I can go to Backerkit and I can back my friends at Rowanwork and Deckard and back their project, Hollows. It has launched, so I'm going to click on it. Hollows TTG RPG boss fights done right. Okay, I haven't got to see any of them. Oh, mute that. Sorry about that. And so I'm going to scroll down. And where are the pledge levels? And then I'll get back to drawing on that piece. Let's see, Hollows. Their print books are always so pretty. Let's see, the Crown Plus components, the Conclave edition, Grand Malignancy, retailer TR. I'm definitely not a retailer. The Temple. Okay. All right. Boom. Next. Confirm my pledge. All right. Boom. That is done. Now that that's done, let's go back to here and jump into this. If I can, I like to support my friends and colleagues within the industry when they have projects, because, you know, we're all trying to make all the nerdy good things. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just going around the positive of this tube, and I'm gonna keep making all the red squiggly lines. So the red is a quick mask. This is not the actual mask yet. You can change the color of the red. The red has just been kind of standard in the industry for years to help show the contrast between what is in the photo and what is going to end up being the mask. And the reason for this is just so that you can quickly see between the two and keep on plugging along, right? Now, the masking is by far not the sexiest part of making this look like it's part of the art style, but it is essential for, you know, getting rid of those backgrounds and stuff, putting in your own backgrounds. It's what you want to do, and becoming good at the silhouetting goes a long way. And you know, I use it a lot in the work that I do. It's also good to be able to do stuff like this, because then it's also something you use similar techniques when, like, turning things into vector shapes and drawing vector objects. So as you can see, I'm then just kind of filling in all the space to fill it all with red. You can expand and subtract the size of the brush depending on what you need to fill the space. You can hold shift down to do straight lines. I'm going to come in and then I'll go in with a smaller brush and tighten up those details real quick. And then drop down that brush. All right. And I'm guessing this will probably take about another 10-ish minutes maybe to do just the silhouetting part. You know, you get used to doing stuff. It gets pretty easy. Let's see if I'm right. I'm not going to slow myself down if I find that I'm getting close and it hasn't been 10 minutes yet, because, you know, this is not like Price is Right rules, the closest without going over. If I get it, I get it. It does not matter so much. Gonna blow. Whoa. What the heck did I do? Oh, I switched brushes. I pushed the wrong button. Like a fool. There we go. Still on the wrong brush. There we go. Brush. Meant to just increase the brush size, and I pushed the button next to it, and it switched it to a different tool. Do not say that I'm a different tool. Come on, y'all. Just kidding. It's weird not having tunes on while I'm working either. I didn't want to have any music in the background that could be considered by YouTube as copyright infringement, and taking that stuff down. Okay, maybe it'll take more than 10 minutes. I don't know. So you can see that I've gone around there. There's a little bit of wire out here. Let's go ahead and get this. Anybody watch, what was the show in the 80s with Commander Mark, and he was always drawing alien planets and space stations and stuff, and he'd go pew, pew, pew marks, and I'd like to go back and maybe watch those on YouTube and see if they were as good as I thought they were as a kid. Going to keep going around the shape. So when you're zoomed in this tight and this close, when you zoom out and it's only going to be like this big in a book, you've got nothing to worry about. Like everything's going to look snazzy-matazzy. All right, we got less than an hour till launch. Let's see. I'm curious. You know, sometimes you start getting a little curious and wondering how things are doing for friends. I like to look and every now and again check and see how things are going. Looks like the Hollows is at 54 backers in the first 6 minutes. That's pretty quick. Hoping that people will jump on early into this project and get it funded as quick as possible. That's like one of the things. There's weird psychology to crowdfunding where people that might be on the fence about it are more inclined to back it if they already see it being successful and they see that other people are backing it. It's like they're like, well, they like it, I should like it. And I get that too. Like I look at Kickstarter pages and Backerkit pages and I see them and I'm like, I don't know, is this thing worth it? Is this going to be right for me? And having the confidence from the rest of the community really seems to go a long way. So if you're watching this, if you can, and you're up for it, and you want to be a part of this one, and you're planning on backing it, try and do it as early as you can. It would make it so much better for me. And also allow me to continue making all the weird stuff that I make. And do little videos like this too. See, I'm going to go ahead and leave that little bubble in there, that little negative space from the string. I'm not going to go in and put all those strings in though. I don't think I need those. I'm going to hit X to do the negative space to erase a little bit there. Swap it back to X. Drop down. Whoa, I'm blowing that brush up instead of dropping it down. You've been to the future and already backed it. Nick, you are the best. Thank you. I do appreciate that. I hope that in the future it is wildly successful and we are just having great times. I'm not going to put that hose in. That hose just looks a little odd to me. I'm going to leave that one off, which is one of the nice things about being able to silhouette things. You don't have to put them in. And when you silhouette, it's hiding, it's masking. When I'm using this quick mask, it's masking. So it's kind of blocking the pixels. It's not deleting the pixels, it's just hiding them. So if you ever decide, you know what, I want that hose to be there, it's still there. You just have to unmask it. Excuse me. You know what? Instead of just drinking coffee all morning, maybe I should drink some water. It's probably a good idea. You always use a smart selection tool and tidy up with a lasso and paste and copy to a new layer. Yeah, so for me, like I tried doing the lasso tools and doing that and then cleaning it up. And I always want it a little more refined. Like if you haven't noticed, I like to be in control of my things. So I like being in control. So I like, this is perfect for me. Sometimes it takes a little longer, but it gives me that like, okay, I know how this was done. I know every area of this photograph now. I know like all the contours and the edges. I can think about it. It registers in my brain for how I want to lay things out in the future and how like typography might go against it and the shapes and all that stuff. So for that, I love doing it this way. But I do understand the value of using the shaped, like the magic wand tool and doing selections that way. I just I got into doing it this way for so long. I can't see myself doing it another way anymore. Even with all the new magical tools, especially Photoshop now has so many tools for making things easy, but easier. But then for me, there's always that weird cleanup phase. And I saw that a lot when there's a lot of tools that would vectorize things, but they would put in so many points. Mask is better, but you haven't made your habit yet. Yeah, I totally get that too. Especially if time is of the essence, sometimes you're just under that crunch. but they did stuff like for a long time with trying to vectorize stuff and convert stuff to paths. And man, did there were always so many points. And then it always, to me, like I could see exactly when it was not done with care. I mean, sure, it was done right enough for certain things, but some of the shapes and stuff just looked so wonky. So even like when I'm turning things into vectors so that it can be scaled up, or so like a spot varnish or a spot foil can be on something, I always do it manually, even if it takes longer. I think the end product is so much better because of it. Okay, now we're getting down into the dark shadows. Let's see. Before I get any further, I'll just hit save because, you should save your work regularly. File, save as. Here, let's just do desktop for now. I'm just going to save it as is. I'll rename it all later. Normally, I don't work that way, but I don't need to go digging around in my... Oh, nope, that's not what I want to do. There we go. We'll just go back there. I will just fudge the shoe boot for now, and then if I have to, I can adjust the levels, take a better look at it, and then come in at it. There we go. Knowing that I'll come in the shadow so that I can see better contrast and clean this up after I get the basic silhouette done and the basic mask. And just going to keep on working our way up here. Double check and make sure there's no comments in Facebook. Can't tell if anybody watches in Facebook or not, but that's okay. Let's see. And just going to do a quick check in my emails real quick, make sure there's nothing major happening. My daughter has messaged me. What has she messaged me about? Can you hang on? Oh, we'll be right back. I'm going to mute myself real quick. Real life happens, and my daughter needed to ask me a question. All right. And a cat snuck into the room. So one of the best things about this cat out of our 5 cats is this one will probably try and scale me while I'm working. She will probably try and jump up on here and climb up my back, which will be fun, and you'll get to see me wince in pain. But that's all part of being live. Yes, Sweet Tooth, I hear you. I don't know if you can hear her crying in. She is quite the talker, and she wants attention, especially since we took our dog to get spayed this morning. Like, now that the dog's not here, she's like, "Oh, I want all of your attention." Yes, I hear you. I can't pet you right now. I'm making a mask. She's going to be on my shoulders before you guys know it. I can just sense it. Oh my gosh, 45 minutes to go. Very excited. I'm looking forward to this. I can't wait to share some of the announcements of some of the folks that are going to be joining the quest for guest adventures. Really hope we get to unlock those stretch goals, because we really have to hit those stretch goals for me to be able to afford it. But it's going to be so awesome. And just the idea of other people telling new stories in the verse is always fun for me. And their spin on how they interpret the stuff that Ross and I came up with. Okay, let's see. Let's zoom out for a minute. Okay, see, we're getting pretty close. We're going all the way around this guy. Once I get him completely encircled, then I'll go in and fill up the inside. I still have not gotten great at affinity photo with doing a mass fill on the inside. Like, usually with like Photoshop, I would do the magic wand tool selection inside. I'd hit expand by like 3 pixels, and then I would go ahead and then do a dump fill in there, um, which always seemed to work just fine. But I can't. I always now just go in completely with the airbrush and fill it up now in Affinity Photo, which takes a little bit longer, and I'm sure there's probably a better way. I just have not gotten around to figuring out what that is. I honestly just figured out why my Wacom tablet would not um, work on this machine yesterday, and it was after a lot of fighting. It was some stupid settings that just were not working right. But now that it's working, oh my gosh, silhouetting is working so much better. I was having to try and connect my iPad to the computer and have it tether, and there were these weird lags. And actually being able having my like $99 Wacom tablet connected directly to the machine is so much better. It saves so much time. It makes it so much cleaner. Okay, what time did I say? I said it's gonna be around 14 after. Yeah, okay, I totally went over. But when I said 10 minutes, it's not that far off. So what I'll probably do once we probably see if I can clip this video later on and just release just the art making part of it. So anybody that wants to see how to do this stuff, they can do that, and maybe even watch it on like a speed run, so they don't have to. More content is better. We've got a great community that contributes to the content on itch and self-publishing in other ways. The jams are well supported, and I need to figure out what's happening with the world standard on when we're going to announce all the winners to the game jam. I was hoping we'd be able to do that while this campaign is live, so I will reach out to them, probably not today, but tomorrow again, and see what's up, because that would be great. Yeah, there were a lot of really good contributions to the game jam, and I can't wait to pick winners and also give out 2 copies of Affinity to folks, and the other prizes as well, of course. I'm curious to see. I haven't checked in on the Pirate Board Jam in a while, but I know that's got to be wrapping up, I think, probably in a week or so. I'm going to have to read all of those submissions too. Going to go in and get all these little teeth looking things. I don't know the bits and pieces of guns, but that's okay. Then I'm just going to do a straight line up here and know that I'm probably going to draw over it a little bit. Let's go ahead and beef this line up. Beef. That'll make it easier when coming back in later. Are there any things in the verse that you all would like explored? I know I've got a couple of things on my list of things that I know that I want to visit sometime soon. And of course, I'm going to have to, one of the priorities is going to be doing the other adventures that connect to the first Gate of Infinite Stars adventure. I mean, those are going to have to come out in a fairly decent amount of time, so that if anybody plays that first one, they can figure out where the next piece is. I mean, you can always have, it's kind of like TV shows where, like, if you have a long interconnected storyline, sometimes you have filler episodes in between, which is, I think, how it'll probably end up playing out. Like, maybe you don't know where the next piece for the Gate of Infinite Stars is, so you're just kind of scraping by, hoping that the next one, you're going to get a lead on where the next one is. Oops. X to do a little erasy. Let's see, where are we? All right. I don't know if my hands are getting sweaty from clasping the Wacom tablet pen. I don't know if it's because we are getting that much closer to launching the Backerkit. Who knows? Okay, X. Okay, let's get this back going. I'm holding shift down to do a straight lines. Shift, shift, shift. Okay. And then coming back in. Boom, boom. And okay, I'm thinking what we'll probably do, we'll get this one photo completely done, and then we'll probably be getting almost close to launch time. So that means not just the silhouette, but doing adjustments and grimming it up and all that good stuff. So, of people in the chat, has anybody actually backed a project that was live on Backerkit as opposed to just using it for the pledge management software? If so, I'm curious to know what your experience has been, but I will wait to see if anybody jumps in and says yes or no or all of the above. I'm very much enjoying the platform so far. Okay, so here we go. We've got, you know, it would be great, a supplement of maps that are able to be used by DMs in the Vast Grimm themes. We got ships. How about small outposts, subterranean layers, and other things? Ooh, I like that a lot. I was actually, it's crazy. I was putting together maps from a Grimm outpost to use for Gen Con, and I need to get those priced out because, like, if I did one side where it's a starship and one side where it's the space station, it's like a 42-inch by 44-inch map. I'd also thought about seeing if there was a way to get that printed on paper and see if it could get folded down to the right size to be the right size of the books. Be pretty thick because, like, even like the Vast Grimm poster that came with the free RPG Day stuff when the first year, that's pretty thick when it's folded down, and that's a 24 by 36. But I thought that might be a cool stretch goal if I can get to that and see what the actual cost is. But I was kind of waiting to see how today did, see how we did all the how things fared for all the other stretch goals, because I've got a pretty long list of stretch goals. This is your first straight to Backerkit. Okay. Well, once you pledge and once all that goes through, when you have time, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the experience. See what you think of it as a backer. What you think of pledging for it, and see if there's anything that threw you off or anything that you just loved about it. For me, it's very intuitive, mainly because I've already built out campaigns on the back end side of this, both as the pledge management and the crowdfunding side. Oh, thank you, Charles. Okay, and okay, we're getting close on filling this guy in. So let's see if this does it like it does. Okay, so we've got that. And then now if I do the bucket, that works. Now let's see if there's a halo effect in there. What I did, I took, yeah, see how there's a halo effect? Let's see if there's a way to expand this. Maybe if I just bucket it again. Nope, see there's the dots around there. So I need to, let's see. How do I expand? Select, feather, grow, oh, grow, shrink. Okay, so if I grow by, no, 142 pixels is a little much. Okay, grew by 1.9. Let's do it 3 like I used to do in Photoshop. Whoops. 3, and then do the bucket. Come on. Why doesn't it want to? It does not want to do that. See if I do. There we go. I did the negative, then I did the positive so that all the things in there were selected. And there we have it. So there is the quick mask. Okay, about 10 minutes longer than I anticipated. But then when you click quick mask at the top, it's the wrong selection. It's the opposite selection. I'm going to go to select, invert pixel selection. You can't see the drop down, so I don't know, but it's under select. Excuse me. Looks like I accidentally got a circle there, but that's okay. I'm going to turn, whoops, I'm going to turn the lock off on the layer. Then I'm going to click the mask tool in the layer. And then you see that it is masked. I'm going to deselect. I'm going to go ahead and mask that out. So hooray, we've got him masked out. I'm going to hit save. Now on this layer, you're not going to be able to see this, but down at the bottom in my layers window, there's a levels thing. I'm going to punch up the levels because right now there's not enough contrast, right? Or there's not enough light, but I'm going to just have to play with this a little bit because the lighting on this guy was not great. Let's see if I increase the gamma a little bit. I'll put black level, no. Okay, so we've got him blown out just a little bit. I'm going to toggle between that having it and not having it. I think it's okay with it. I'm going to try and go in and go into HSL, which is hue, saturation, and luminosity shift. Going to go ahead and change the hue and see what I can do with this pretty quickly and see if I can get the overall tone and color to something that I'd rather work with. Okay, so I like this. Then I'm going to look at the saturation shift and blow out the saturation, right? And then I'm going to go into luminosity. If you go into luminosity, it really flattens it out. So I'm going to leave that. Oh, whoops. I hit Command Z, which dropped it back to what it was. Let's get it back to kind of purpley pink. Let's pump up the saturation, pump up the jam. And that's HSL in there. And before I do this again, I'll figure out how to get all these little windows in the window so we can see what's shaking. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, in the overlay layers, I'm going to go to posterize. And I'm going to posterize, and I tend to posterize at 4. That's like my standard posterization level. I want it to be on the character itself. I don't want it to be on everything, because when I start putting brushes and stuff behind him, I don't want those brushes to be posterized. So now I'm going to drop in a new layer. I'm going to go into my brushes and let's see if there's a way to get these in here. Let's see. Oh, is that it? Boom. Okay, I should have been doing this all along. All right, here we go. This is going to be much better. Now you can see the brushes. I'm going to drop this. Ink by Elder Zakharov is one that I paid for. I've mentioned that in other ones. If I can find the link, I'll share that. I love this brush. This paper liner, it's my jam. It's what I use all the time. In this new layer, you can see the layers here. Now I'll go in and show you these layers. I did the posterize layer. Posterize, boom, 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 boom. I've got the HSL shift, boom, boom, boom. I've got the levels, boom, boom, boom. Okay, now back up to this pixel layer. I don't want to draw on this, I want to draw here. So I've got the paintbrush. I've got it on black. I'm going to check my levels. I like building in a 60, 40, 20, 100 color build of black. That's the print shop I first started working at when I moved to Georgia. When they did rich blacks, that was the color build they would always use. So it's not just a flat 100% black. It has bits of each of the other 4 colors and 4-color process that make that a darker, thicker black. If you put too much of any one, I think if you get over a total of 220, adding those colors together, it ends up being too much ink on the paper. And so then it spreads around and smears, and it can't be absorbed. So you never want to go higher than 220. So the 60-40 gets to 100, 20 gets to 120, then the 100 black is 220. So that's why I do my build of black that way. And also you can see a very distinct difference when looking at something that's printed with 100% black with no other color build in it, and then one that's got a rich black. So I'm going to drop down this brush a little bit in size, and I'm just going to start seeing where it takes me. I tend to follow the contours and the natural curves of the photographs at first, and then I go in and I add to it from there and put in little details that I want in there. Like, I know I'm never going to want this dude's face or this dude's eyes because, generally I don't have eyes usually have hash marks and slashes that are in the things. We are 30 minutes away. I repeat, 30 minutes away from launch. Holy guacamole. So quickly, I'm grimming the hell out of this thing. Let's get on this gun. So I'll do black, and then I'll come back in and I'll do highlights. And as you can see, I tend to move fast and sloppy, and that is okay because that's the style. For my Itch Jam contribution, I played with making custom brushes for the first time. Oh, awesome! That's great. I need to try and mess around with that. Or was it for Photoshop or for Affinity, Charles? Okay, doing this here. So we've got this gun. I'm going to go ahead and make this bigger and longer, and then I'll probably fill that in with some extra color to round that out. Affinity. Could you share those with me? I'd love to load them and see how they work. And so, after working with computers for so long and doing design work, a lot of this stuff I just do and I don't really have to think about it. And that's why it's so fast and so loose, and I don't mind. And I also know that it's very forgiving. I can always hit undo, where I can go back and I can delete stuff and erase stuff and redraw stuff. So I'm not precious with it, which when you're new to it, it's harder to be so carefree and just fly through it. Let's zoom out. It's starting to come together a little bit. I think. I don't know. We'll look into it and see how that's done. And let's see. Also, gonna put his hand here. Know that his hand's coming in like this. He's got a thumb going over that way. It's probably going to look like a weird oven mitt, so we may have to go back in and clean that up. Speaking of oven mitts, I get an oven mitt every Christmas from my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law gets an oven mitt from me. It's been many, many years now. I have too many oven mitts. And I believe she does as well. But it was a weird tradition that I started. And then it was like, all right, it is on. Making some extra lines in here, doing some extra stuff, making this extra interesting. Okay, let's see. See if we can get this. I don't know what this guy will be. Maybe he'll be used in something. Maybe he'll be used in something in the future. I just wanted to find some interesting photos from stock photo that I could use this morning while I was getting ready to be able to do this with, in case we had time to fill prior to launch. Let's do these spikes. Spikes, 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 spikes. Hooray! I like it spiky. Well, and if we're doing spikes there, well, he can't have them on the goggle part, but he could have it. He can sure have it there. And then we can fill in some other colors in a bit. Let's get these other legs done, and then one of my favorite designs for spacesuits was Fear Agent comic book. Guy that did the first handful of issues, like the first couple of arcs of Walking Dead. He did the art for the first couple arcs of Fear Agent, and I really enjoyed that for quite some time. And orange has always been like my favorite color. So the Fear Agent's outfit being like orange and kind of grayish, I think. Also had some X-Wing pilot vibes to it as well. think that's all the black I'm going to add at the moment. Let's go ahead and drop in. Let's drop in another layer here. I'm going to drop it behind. I'm going to sample. Why can't I see my sampler? Oh, here we go. I'm going to pull this green because, well, why not? Come on. That's not, oh, I'm doing brushes. Sometimes I don't press down hard enough on here to get the actual tool. There we go. We got the green. I wanted to get the green just to drop in some other color to tie it into that mask a little bit. Going to drop this in. Just going to drop it behind a couple of things. Heck, might as well drop it in here. You're loving this tutorial? Oh, thank you, John. I'm glad. Oh, and I missed the spikes on the other boot, so I need to, what's that, a boot? I got to jam that in there, so I'm going to go back to the black layer. I'll drop this black back to the 60, 40, 20, 100. Then I'll drop these spikes. Hurrah! And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to drop a layer behind the black. A lot of times I like with the highlights to put that layer behind the black outlines that I've already created, but still on top of the other, on top of the illustrative or the photographic layer. And I'm just going to use that same crazy ass brush and just go wild and carefree. And I'll probably use this to really define some of the stuff and show some separation between some of the areas, because this one's very flat because of how the colors of the photography was. So it didn't have nearly as much contrast as some other photos that I've downloaded before. So, and let's do something here. And then I'm also going to, a lot of times I'll do the background prior to, like I'll do it like a splattery background. So we'll do that too in just a minute. Whew, Nelly, we are 22 minutes away from launch. Should I be getting nervous? Maybe, I don't know. I want to go, I like this tube that's here. I want to kind of follow that and bring this up. It's like, what is in that tube? What's going on? Let's bring some of these lines into it. Then let's go ahead and define this arm a little bit more that's kind of hidden and discarded. Okay, now it's time to cover up those eyes. I don't think the white's enough on there. I may have to come back in and do black on there. Do a couple of little highlights here. Maybe a little crack in the mask. A little bit of detail around there. I know there's shadows here, but sometimes I like to just break that up, throw some details in. Why are there we go. Who knows what that is? I don't. Something now. Now it's Canon, right? It's not the 6. It's got 5. It's a slash mark. What is that? Who are they? Sometimes I like doing stuff like that, throwing weird little stuff in, and then 6 months later, whoops, have that be something that's like, oh, remember when I did that? What could that be? Can that be part of a story? That green punches hard and love it. Okay, speaking of, let's take that green, although it's not going to work up in the mohawk, but we'll do that in a second. I think his background's got to be some green. I'm going to start with, is the amount of worms, he's infected with a, nice one, Nick, I like that. Okay, I'm going to drop this layer behind here. I'm going to use this tool. Let's pull that green, since you just mentioned it. I'm going to blow up this brush. Oh, undo. That was white. Switch it to green. I think I'm going to start with this brush, and then we may come back and do a splatter behind him. I don't know. And this may go once it gets into layout. Sometimes that happens where I'll do some color behind them and then I'll like drop it into layout and need to adjust it accordingly. Um, and but it needed something around that tube anyway. And then we'll just stop it at the mohawk. And then I need to come back in and try black on the eyeballs. Reduce the brush tool. Drop this to, let's just pull this black. Sample, click this brush. There we go. Sample. And all right, where's my brush? There's my brush. Switch colors. Let's go up to the layers. We're going to drop in a new layer. Sometime I may name these, sometime I may not. Eyes. Eyes. Mouth. And then we'll do one more pop of color. No, we won't. We'll leave him like that. That is where he will be. That is a quick, down and dirty illustration to drop into a book. Charles, thank you for joining us. And it was good having you hang out with us. We've got 18 minutes till go. I'm going to save this guy. I'm going to stop sharing the window. Stop screen share. Whoa, I'm back and I'm in your face. Close that. We've got another one to do at another point if we're feeling like it. We are super close to going live. Let's see how the Backerkit page is looking. Going to pop that refresh. We're still at the 1,118, but we are going to be going live in 18 minutes. And like I had said, since this kind of blocks up the front of the screen on the crowdfunding page, I'm pretty sure I will sign this off ahead of time. So I think I should go ahead and get ready to do that now. That way I can run to the bathroom before I need to actually hit everything goes live. I can be ready to hit the ground running. Is there anybody in the chat that has any questions? I hope you'll stick around those last 15 minutes and hit that pledge button as soon as we go live to really make this thing take off. But I'll give it a couple of minutes for any last thoughts in the comments before we bounce and get ready to launch, and then I will jump back on hopefully a little bit after I get all the things out into the ether to get people back in the project. We'll give it another couple minutes just in case there's a lag. Because there's a lag. It's a lag. It's a lag. All right. Hey, Vinny. No questions from me, but best of luck. Thank you very much. It's good to have you here. John, thank you. All right. I'm going to split. I'm going to turn this thing off. And then let's hope at high noon here Eastern time, things go bonkers. All right. I'll be back in a little while this afternoon with some streaming of some sort. All right. Thanks, y'all.